Hey guys, Deathletter Magic here, and people are still absolutely going nuts over, well, Oko's presence in Standard, basically. And you know how the whole time I've been saying this is not a card problem, this is a procedural problem with Wizards of the Coast. Because a while ago they hired 2 or 3 people, I think it was 3, named them by name and said these people, first and last name, are in charge of stopping the amount of broken cards and bans that are going on in Standard. And since then, we've had pretty much the same. I mean, I guess if their job was to lower the number of bans, yes, they did refuse to ban Chain Whirler and refuse to ban Scarab God. I mean, they clearly should have, they just didn't do it. So yes, they did do their jobs if that was the letter of their job description. But the impression I got from that article introducing them was they were going to make sure that really, really broken, overpowered stuff does not get released, which, wow, they aren't doing their job. And I don't know what's going on. I mean, I wish I worked there. I wish I had some leaks. I wish I had some ex-employees doing a big expose on what happened. If that's you, hit me up ASAP. But my guess is that Mark Rosewater and Aaron Forsythe still work at the company, and whatever they say goes. So you can't just bring in somebody new and have them say, hey, no, for the 50th time, what you're trying to do is broken. Stop trying to push this. I have a feeling they could just override them and say, no, we're doing this, even though clearly they shouldn't. I mean, I assure you, these same people are designing these problematic cards. We know who they are. They have admitted who they are. I mean, in interviews, Mark Rosewater has said, yeah, this card was a mistake. We didn't think it would do this. Aaron Forsythe has said, yeah, we thought that this would be just a gimmick. We didn't even think people would play this in Constructed, and yet look at what happened. So they basically said, like, yes, we did playtest it. We didn't find this to be a problem, and we pushed it through. And Mark Rosewater constantly on his blog and in interviews and stuff, well, to summarize what he said pretty much in every case, we wanted to push the power level really high because pushing power level is how you get fun, interesting decks, but then we pushed it too high. Oops. And then that is never followed by, but we're going to try not to do it again, or oops, I'm personally sorry, or here's what we learned from it, and here's why it's not going to happen again. And then it does happen again. Shocker. It's almost like his intention was to specifically do it again, push cards too far on the power scale, and then oopsies happen over and over and over and over and over. So in my opinion, those 2 people gotta go. Everybody wants Mark Rosewater fired. A lot less people, I'd say, want Aaron Forsythe fired, but I think it's just they don't know what he's done there and that he's responsible for a lot of this. Most of the people who dislike him just dislike how he's impolite, to say the least, on Twitter, like to the point where other employees are making comments, like I believe one specifically was, wow, I didn't think there was anything Aaron was willing to not say on Twitter. And statements like, yeah, he really likes to speak his mind no matter what it is. Dude, if I worked there, it would be like, yeah, Aaron really needs to shut the hell up, and while we're at it, can we move him to like accounting or something? Because he sure as hell can't do playtesting or R&D. Oh my gosh. So the problem isn't, oops, we made a math error on this card. Oops, we're understaffed. Oops, we rushed it. It's what I've been saying for the last 3 years, a lack of accountability. And if you look on Glassdoor.com, which is an like interview and comment and review site for ex-employees of multiple companies, a lot of people who left said there is zero accountability. Nobody gets any consequences if they make a mistake, which is funny because if they make a mistake, the company, whoops, loses 50 million, loses 100 million. Oops. Oops, Standard was crap for 2 sets. Oops, I guess we just lost another, 200 stores worldwide, which is bad because there's only 6,400 WPN locations. Oops, there goes our distribution network. Oops. Oops, Masters 25 was a flop because we refused to put anything good in it like fetch lands. Oops. Oh, I guess we lost 10 million on that one. Oops. That's a realistic and conservative number, by the way. At most companies, upper management's job is to say, hey, this is like really bad. Like if it wasn't really bad, they wouldn't be addressing it. That would be for the lower level employees. Some little thing. But huge product launch ruining, company ruining, reputation ruining, 10% customer loss, that kind of a disaster, that's what gets brought up in meetings. Big meetings of C-level executives and branch managers and division leaders and all that. You find what process, what person, what group, what procedure, anything was responsible, and you fix it immediately. You make it a top priority. What they appear to do is be doing the lowest level job themselves, which, it's a small enough company, believe it or not, that they probably should be. It's not like there's 100 people at like a 5,000 person company that do playtesting and design, and like the manager of that whole department should not be designing individual cards. They should be overseeing the process. Wizards doesn't have that many employees. So financially in the budget and just mechanically it makes sense that they would be doing the work, but the problem is there's nobody above them. I guess you could argue Hasbro, but they're clearly hands off, or they just look at the gross numbers and are like, do better, or okay, cool, good quarter, and they don't really care what's behind that. It's not some Hasbro accountant's job to say, hey, design cards better. It's like, hey, why are revenues down? And then they just find some way to rip everybody off. They just make it cost double to play MTGO. And then that's how they make it up. And then Hasbro's like, oh, cool, you made more money. When in reality, like, the company's in dire need of some changes. That's my impression of what the relationship is like. So if you're a Mark Rosewater, an Aaron Forsyth, or one of the heads of design, I don't remember who specifically. It's probably like Gavin or something. I don't know. I think he does side product design. They're individual people with very little help. So it's like a small department of probably like 4, 5, 6 people. So when Mark Rosewater designs a mechanic that is absolute unequivocal shit, just a terrible idea, he convinced everyone to do it. They finally caved and went, with it. And then everybody hated it and it ruined Standard for a year. Which, mind you, has happened no less than like 8 times. I am not kidding. At the end of the day, he's accountable to basically one person directly, and that's himself. And he has such a big ego, and he's such a delusional hypocrite that he just can't take responsibility and say, was this really my fault? Am I bad at my job? Should I try to improve? Should I actually put in more effort this time? Like, is there something I should do to stop this from happening again? Am I doing enough? No, he's just like, this is hard. I mean, who can predict what'll happen after launch? Well, apparently, literally the entire community, because during spoiler season, usually we see certain cards, we show them out, and we're like, well, that's problematic. And then a month later, it turns out, well, that was problematic. So if that many people, and I would even say in some cases, the majority of players see something and say, well, this is going to be not fun, and then it turns out to ruin Standard, be obnoxious, and be not fun, that's when Mark should look in a mirror and say, wow, I screwed up majorly. How are this many people more correct about something than I am? But him and Aaron and most of the other people are like, we can do no wrong. And if we make a mistake, whatever. This is hard. Everybody has, the 2020 hindsight vision. Like ignoring the fact that we all predict these things before they happen. Now, Oko is a bad example because very few people said, well, this is going to ruin Standard. I think I pointed out, I'm like, well, those are 3 unrelated things. It looks deck specific. It looks like a gimmick. Like food, not really removal, and then a crappy negative ability. But I did mention, wow, it's really odd of them to put removal on a plus instead of a minus. And I believe I even said this might be a problem. So yeah, this one slipped past them. What shouldn't have slipped past was Hostage Taker comboing with itself. They had to issue an errata update, an Oracle text update to the card before it launched. The card can, by itself, target itself and cause an infinite loop. That's just careless. I mean, the spelling errors on some of the cards, that's like the pinnacle of carelessness. It's just outlining that they just don't give a crap. And I've been saying this for years, but finally, you guys know the people who don't, make Magic content and study everything that Wizards says and does and sells and every deck every time. So I get it. But the rest of the community is finally trying to catch up and get this on their own. And finally, after me saying it for 3 to 4 years, finally, it would appear that with one absolutely blowing up Reddit post, finally people get that this is the problem. I mean, it's not like for the last 10 years, there hasn't been a subset of people in the community screaming, fire Mark Rosewater, he's what's wrong with the company. It's just nobody took them seriously or believed them. But I'd like to introduce you to a post that was given, by the way, the Platinum Award, which is insane on Reddit. I'm not sure I've ever seen one of those. And it was posted by Teamer Tron 13 hours ago, as of the recording of this video. And right now, it has 2.7 thousand upvotes. Anything even above 3 is like legendary tier on this subreddit. So what did he post that the community as a whole absolutely went berserk, hitting yes, upvote, oh my gosh, this is so true. Well, the title of the post is Too Many of 2019's Cards Were Broken. We should be entering a new era of accountability for R&D. I read this and I just about spit out my delicious Diet 7-Up. I was like, wow, a post directly attacking the staff and saying they're procedurally wrong, that's basically been the theme of my channel for the last couple years, got how many upvotes? So to burn through it real quick, an absolute kudos to Team Urtron for putting this so eloquently and well written into an article. It honestly is a better quality, better laid out article than anything Wizards themselves, right? Which is just more evidence that company's sad. But anyway, he put, when Kaladesh block drove Standard to the brink of instability with stuff like Aetherworks Marvel, Copter, and Felidar Guardian, which, yes, that is when things went off the rail hardcore. Wizards responded by launching the Play Design team, which is in all caps. That was the actual title of it. Play Design, and by the way, this is the 3 people I was talking about. Play Design was essentially created to improve the quality of gameplay within Standard and other constructed formats. I forgot about that. They were supposed to police all formats and all products, and to help support R&D's mission and create healthier metas with less bannings. So to reiterate, these people were hired specifically to babysit the idiots in higher management who keep making the same mistakes over and over and over. Okay, to continue, it's hard to pinpoint what changed internally, but that concept has gone to crap in 2019. I assure you guys, I didn't write this. I am not Team Urtron. Come to think of it, I don't think I currently have a Reddit account. So then it goes to bullet points. 1, we've seen 2 cards, Hogak and Oko, immediately warp the formats the cards were specifically designed for within a week of their release. Within weeks of their release. It probably was a week though. Number 2, we've seen countless players upset and frustrated by the Curse Walker design of the War of the Spark Walkers, including Teferi, the 3-cost one, Narset, which people hate her, and Karn. That one if you're talking about not standard, designs which frequently turn games of Magic extremely one-sided while actively discouraging interactive gameplay. In other words, they're prison cards. Everybody hates prison decks. Lockdown decks are so annoying because they're slow, they drag everything out, and they don't let me play my damn deck that I put all my time and effort into. So yeah, Curse Walkers was a problem. But somebody thought that was a good idea. They should metaphorically have like oven mitts on when they're handling anything that says your opponent can't. Because if your opponent can't and their deck does that, they're screwed the second that reaches play. And oh yeah, 2 of those cards rub people the wrong way in Standard. The other one I believe broke Commander, Modern, something. I don't know. I think Karn was banned from something. I don't remember. I follow Standard a lot closer. And point number 3, we've seen explicitly dangerous, how did they not test this better cards seep into formats like Urza, Veil of Summer. Oh my god, was that a careless card. I mean, I don't follow other formats too close, but I read Urza, Veil of Summer. I'm like, what the actual hell? And then the next one he mentions is Field of the Dead. And that's, explicitly dangerous. How did they not test this better? That is exactly how I would describe that. And then he names Once Upon a Time. Really, bro? It's a glorified fetch that sometimes costs 0. I mean, it's practically a ley line. Get over yourselves. He must not be talking about Standard, because honestly, without the broken deck to put it in, that card would be nothing. Anyway, all cards that serve to subvert how cards and strategies typically function and or being easily abusable with minimal build-around effort. Yeah, you drop Field of the Dead into anything. I mean, if you're playing green, you run Once Upon a Time, which I still don't think is the problem card, but it's annoying and it probably shouldn't have been printed. I mean, I'll give him that. I don't think it's on the same tier as Field of the Dead. Or, my god, Urza. So he says, or it could be she, by the way, I have no idea. Oko's time in Standard is hopefully ending, but Oko's banning should not start and end with, looks like this card's too strong, it's banned now. Oh my god, preach it. Seriously, that is the problem. Oh, we fixed it. Maybe a sorry. I think very rarely do they include an apology to the community. And then dead ass nothing about we're going to prevent this in the future. Here's what went wrong. None of that. No, it's just we fixed it, you guys. We're the heroes. Yay, we listened to the community. Everything's better now. By the way, banning Field of the Dead made Standard worse. And you know what? Skull Clamp. Somebody in a reply below reminded everybody that banning Skull Clamp actually made Standard worse. Sometimes there's deeper design problems than just whoopsies, we screwed up one card, and I've been saying it right now, you cannot fix Standard right now until the next rotation, which is 11 months out, or banning bare minimum 6 cards, if not 12, way closer to 12. I mean, that treacherous 7-cost asshole who steals your lands and shuts your entire deck down. That guy's gotta go. Teferi has to go mostly because of Super Friends. Something or anything has to be done with these flash control counterspell heavy bullshit decks that run everything on your turn and then generate wolves for free. my vote is the Wolf Generator. Garruk is still too powerful. You just never know it because nobody can get him out stable and run him against anything. But we'll find out real shortly after Oko gets banned how powerful Garruk is, considering you can emblem him the turn after he comes out. Well, then we've got either Chandra's Shitbird, the stupid-ass Dwarf, or preferably Cavalcade. One of the three of those have to be banned. I think we all know it's Cavalcade. And I think I'm forgetting some older decks, so it's like bare minimum those have to be removed to make Standard even resemble something playable. So just pulling the plug on Oko, cool, everybody will just go to Mono Red. Or Super Friends, Super Delay, Super Control. I mean, I've even seen Turbo Fog builds online. Nobody in the history of the damn game has ever wanted to play against Turbo Fog, where every time they swing, nothing happens. And I mean every time. They can consistently, at all times, have 2 fog effects in hand. You are literally never going to win with creatures. There should never be a prison-style deck, I do consider Fog to be prison, where your opponent literally cannot win with creatures. Because most decks use creatures. The only thing that's left is weird alternative win con decks. It should never dissolve down to that. So yeah, thanks for reminding everybody that the whole process of looks like this card's too strong, okay, we fixed it, yay, problem solved, is not good enough. That doesn't give us any confidence for the future, and in most cases it doesn't actually fix the problem. People just move to the next most obnoxious overpowered deck. You have to ban things until there's only appropriately powered, reasonably fun to play against decks left in Standard. And if you're about to say, but Des, that's crazy, that's like 15 cards. Yes, that's why we're both making the point that what they need to do is stop printing crap like this. There is an intrinsic problem with R&D where they keep pumping out cards that they think are okay, and there's nothing okay about them because they're usually former pro players. They design for the pro league. All they care about is deck diversity, no matter how toxic the decks are, and they don't focus on fun or enjoyable gameplay. They don't care about it, they don't mention it, they don't talk about it, and clearly they don't consider it when they're making cards. All they say is, oh look, people are playing at least 5 different decks in Tier 1. Cool, we're good. That's it. That's our only benchmark. And I've heard some insider leaks from ex-employees at Wizards that the higher-ups who keep making these dumb decisions, who keep listening to all the complaints online, they just brush it off as, oh, this community is just toxic. They always complain. They'll complain about everything no matter what we do. They just write it off as, they're just mad for the sake of being mad. No, the vast majority of us have a point, and we have had a point for years now. So they just wall themselves off, go in their own little bubble, and their version of reality is the only one that counts. And that's why they need to be replaced, and they need to get a freaking clue. One of the two needs to happen, because if they hired an entire department to pump the brakes on Mark and Aaron and their bullshit, and they aren't able to do it, maybe it's time that they both leave the company. That's what I'm saying. Oh, next time you hear either of them talking on Twitter or any kind of social media, why not reply with a direct, to-their-face question, why did you design this, and why are you not going to design this in the future? Why did this pass play testing? Why did you think this is okay? And why do you keep doing it year after year? And what makes me think that there won't be cards like this in Theros Beyond Death? Because there's already 2, by the way. And keep bombarding them with comments until they can't lie to themselves anymore about how great they are at their jobs and how nobody can do their jobs better and how there doesn't need to be accountability and they don't need to try harder or do better. Calling people out on their bad behavior is the only way to fix it if they're delusional and think that nothing's wrong. But people are like, that's mean, that's rude, that's bullying. When people are this far gone, we need a result. We either need them removed from the company or they need to fix their behavior. So thousands of people need to tell them to fix their behavior. It's that simple. I don't care if it's mean or rude or hurts their feelings. That's why I'm not afraid to constantly call them out for their actions, their results, and their wonderful products and wonderful decisions. Not to mention their idiotic social and political policies, which they all seem to agree are more important than, their job or money or company reputation or anything. They just will not shut up about this SJW bullshit. And I think that it is legitimately distracting them from doing their job. I think they're like, well, at least we put enough ugly fat women in the set. So at least we've got that. And at least I focused on that and put time into that. Even though nobody's buying or playing Standard and it's an absolute disaster right now. Like, oh wow, this sold terribly, but at least 2 of the characters are gay and at least half of them are women. At least we did that. Mission accomplished. We're doing a great job. That's more important because we're going to change society because we've got power and influence. Yeah, while they're designing bad cards and not knowing how math or gameplay or fun works, they can take that whole area of bullshit and shove it right up their ass as far as I'm concerned. Hasbro just needs to come in, like swooping down like eagles and say, hey, if you don't shut the hell up with this crap and stop putting it into your card game, get the hell out of here. Because it's distracting you from doing your job properly, which clearly you aren't. That would be a miracle if that ever happened. But if they lose enough money, the magnifying glass comes out, you know what I mean? So if you don't like the state of standard right now, stop giving Wizards money. Well, this is bad. I'm going to go grumble about it online, but, got to build my 3 decks, I'm still going to open a booster box. I mean, let's not get crazy with it. No, stop giving them money. Stop it. I haven't been to F&M in over a year. They haven't gotten a damn penny from me in paper. I don't even have one legal deck right now. So anyway, the original post here goes on to say, take a look at Hogak's ban announcement. There's absolutely no transparency in the decision whatsoever. They don't talk about why they think the card performed better than they expected. Nothing whatsoever to show that they acknowledge their mistake and are looking to improve on it. Just a general commentary on the card's dominance before moving on. So yes, we all as a community want to know why you do this, but their answer is silence. I mean, how do you put graveyard mechanics like Dredge at like 8+ on the Storm scale, which means it's overpowered, it's a disaster, it's not fun, never printed again. Yes, I know it applies to standard still. It's not like it doesn't apply to other formats. And then like make Hogak. Like, do you not know that's problematic? It's just like free casting and cloning of spells. You know it's problematic. Giving people too much mana too early in the game. You know that this is problematic. Look at the ban list, and yet they keep doing it. Letting control decks draw too many cards. They keep doing it. Somebody should have taken one look at Search for Azcanta and said, no, we can't do this. That's just too much. Gimmicky bullshit like graveyard effects that don't play real Magic have been hated by the community since they were introduced, and Mark Rosewater has basically apologized for them and put them at like 9 on the Storm scale. And then Hogak gets printed. Like, what the hell? Where's the disconnect here? How did this happen? We want to know, and yet they leave us in the dark. And then we're all left with the question after the ban of, so what's going to prevent this in the future? And the answer is clearly not a damn thing. Fire Aaron Forsyth, fire Mark Rosewater. That is the solution. So R&D's commentary on Oko, and he actually made that a hyperlink to the Twitch clip where they said what they thought about it live, which is always hilarious because they can't carefully craft it with weaselly words and omit stuff or take it back later. Anyway, he says that clip was another worrying aspect of this trend. They more or less just gloss over the idea of, oh yeah, we didn't realize how good the plus would be defensively, when that's literally supposed to be the point of play design. If they aren't thoroughly testing their pushed 3-mana face walkers to the point where they're printing cards without realizing an entire axis the card can operate on, then what are they even doing? Oh, preach it. I want to put that on a shirt. That's literally their job when they design and test cards, to design and test fair, like fun, appropriate cards. And they didn't think that basically turning everything that's important one at a time, one per turn in a person's deck into a vanilla 3/3 might disrupt their mechanic and what their deck does. That ability should have been a -2, and we all damn well know it. And even then it probably would have been pretty darn powerful, because the food ability is outrageously defensive. Not to mention the artificially high loyalty that they gave him. So yeah, the red lights should be flashing, danger, 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 when they make a Planeswalker cost 3. And that goes double for the playtesters if it's a main character, because we all know that Mark Rosewater gets way too excited about main characters. And then we find out he's some kind of weird male anti-testosterone rebel SJW hipster, icon. Well, now you know they're going to make him overpowered. But playtesting let that through. Were they even playing Magic with it? Were they even building decks with him in it? I mean, truer words could never have been spoken than, if that's their entire job, then what were they even doing? I would love to know their answer for this, because it's either, wow, our playtesting methods are shit and we're terrible at deck building and reading the meta, and they're completely deluded about, nobody would ever build this. Or the people that they did hire to that new department are screaming, oh my god, this is broken. They're like, no, you don't get it. It's a main character. It'll be fine. We know what we're doing. We've been here for 15 years. I think it's the latter. I really do, because too many pro players work there in playtesting and R&D. They should, in theory, know what to build, although a lot of pro players are just copycats and they work with teams and they do whatever they're told. They don't really do the original research. Very few people actually do. The number of true, actual, skilled, talented, original deck architects in the community are very low. So he finishes with, if Wizards moves forward with banning the face planeswalker of a fall set with little more than oops, that card was a little too strong, then player confidence is going to tank. Oh, it's already there. Especially for everyone who bought $40 plus Okos in recent weeks after the field ban. Oh, that's another good point, isn't it? Although, I differ with him on this one because if you build abusive, broken, overpowered shit, you deserve to lose the money on it. You're an asshole. Not to mention you're a tier 1 addicted net decking dick, ruining everybody's good time at FNM, and you're obsessed with winning to the point where you don't care about anybody else's good time or feelings or anything. And that wonderful treatment of the community extends far past the state of standard, whether it's good or bad or whatever. You're terrible, and you're just as bad as Oko. You're personally, with your playstyle, probably driving more people away from the game than Oko is. I am not kidding. Net deckers are a bigger problem for the health of the game. It's just nobody cares and nobody constantly mentions that because what are you going to do about them? Blow up the internet? Ban information sharing? Like, get a Chinese Great Wall and every time somebody posts tournament results or a deck list, you immediately delete the entire website? You'd have to stop humans from communicating. Good luck with that. But don't forget, that still is actually the problem. Just because there's no solution doesn't mean it's not the problem, because it is. If we could all laugh at Mythic Championship 6 or 4 or 5, whatever the hell just happened, and just be like, wow, that was an Okothon shit show. Wow, the meta sucks. And then go do whatever we want and play for fun at FNM with appropriately powered decks that are all different from each other, that match the person's play preference, play style, and, personality, whatever. It would just be a sideshow. We'd all just be like, wow, this is really bad. Doesn't affect me. Boy, wouldn't the world be better without net decking assholes who only care about winning? Just shallow, pathetic people with absolutely no self-confidence, where their whole entire image of themselves is how many packs can I win at FNM? And then they just block off the fact that everybody resents and hates them. Wow, I spent $500 on this deck and people must respect me because I win all the time. And then everybody's like, God, I wish this asshole would stop showing up. So many delusional people in this community, from the company to the players. So anyway, Mr. Teamer Tron Baller Pimp Genius Doctorate in Magic here says, we need Wizards to begin taking proactive steps towards fixing their currently broken design system. Yes, don't fix the meta. Don't react. Don't ban cards. But fix the system. Fix the broken design system. And then you won't have to ban shit. To ensure the long-term health of the game, we need Wizards to be humble and transparent. If they just say we're working on this, we're fixing it, and then they actually do, I don't care how they do it. I disagree with the transparency. It would be nice. I'd feel better if they're like, they publicly announced we just fired these 2 people. Okay. But other than that, I don't care how they get it done as long as they get it done. So, and admit they're working to repair their internal R&D process so that the formats we love and our investment in the game. I'm not sure that sentence was structured correctly or I read it correctly, but you guys get it. It's not time for more excuses. It's a time for them to start getting things back on track, minimizing the damage 2019 caused to the game, and working to minimize the chances of a year this busted ever happening again. I love how they've basically already written off 2019, because we all know it's going to be a complete and utter shit hurricane until 2020. Remember when Wizards' only stated defense against banning Chain Whirler a while ago was, well, we're only 3 months away from rotation. I feel like everybody in the community is like, well, we're only 11 months away from rotation. And like, that's the only light at the end of the tunnel that probably is a train about to hit us that could possibly repair the state of standard right now. Too many broken cards, too many broken decks. And all the try-hard dumbasses who just do not understand or willfully ignore what's going on with standard right now and what part they play in it, when they get 15 cards banned, will say, if they just admit, okay, 2019 was a disaster, the last couple sets were a disaster, we're just going to fix this. We're not going to wait a year, we're going to fix this. We're going to ban this, and this. And it's the entire list of tier 1, the whole thing. Those people are going to lose their damn minds and they're going to get real loud and protest and all this other bullshit. Just like what happened with them saying, okay, we're going to rotate standard twice per year instead. And all the loud, selfish dumbasses on the internet lost their minds, and within a couple days, Wizards walked it back and said, no, we're not going to do this. Even though to this day, one of the biggest problems in the last couple of years, although not right now, has been 8 sets legal is too many. Too many broken card interactions, too hard to play test. power level gets too high, casting cost gets too low, too many control cards, too many draw cards, you name it. At the end of the day, those are all just synonymous with you can't have 8 sets legal and standard. You can't do it. I think what they were going for was 4-5-6 reset, 4-5-6 reset, or 4, I don't remember, but it was like a lot shorter than 8. But everyone's like, my value, my lands. I need to use my lands for an extra 6 months because they're really expensive. Yeah, stop printing lands in the rare slot that every player needs. That would be nice. I don't care if $400 decks exist as long as there's not a $100 entry fee for me to build anything with 2 colors. Okay, rare lands, rare dual lands need to go away forever. They need to be printed in the uncommon slot. Or since 3+ color fixed decks that are consistent as of turn 2 are really the problem, maybe don't print good rare color fixing at all. Make interesting lands like they did for Throne of Eldraine. And then if you want to run even 2 color, boy, that's a gamble. You're going to get color screwed X amount of % of the time, so you better plan your deck around it or mulligan properly. There's all kinds of stuff where if I was in control of the company, I would fix immediately, and that would be another one of them. I'd pass a rule saying that there can never be more than 2 planeswalkers in play at a time on your side of the battlefield. Ta-da! Perpetual problem fixed. Why they don't have the intelligence, the playtesting, the wisdom, or the balls to do something like this, I don't know. I would never print Mill or Fog on a card ever again in the entire rest of the game. Nobody wants to play against those deck archetypes. Prison decks? No. No, we're never printing cards that would enable that ever again. Sorry. And anything with a powerful effect, a perpetual trigger, gets legendary slapped on it no matter what it is. I mean, if they just took these basic precautions, the game would be so much better off. So yeah, what are they going to do about this? If they just ban Oko and then they wait another month and ban another card and then wait another month and ban another card, we're just going to have another year of just absolute unplayable shit. And by the way, did you hear the fun little conspiracy theory that I want to tack on the end here? That there might be a purposeful, this is too stupid and too careless to say that it's because of incompetence or lack of skill. There's a reason that they keep printing decks and cards like this. The theory, and I completely subscribe to this, is that as of approximately, it's arguable, but maybe Eldritch Moon, maybe Origins, definitely the Kaladesh block, for sure. As of right around then, they got rid of the master sets and reprint sets, which were just grabbing money from Modern. Like, that's literally what they did. It was one of their best products ever, most money-making, most liked by the community because you could buy a box for $250 and there's probably $400 worth of cards in it. And they had enough value reprints in just Modern and Commander to keep that going till the end of time. And yet they canceled it just because 2 did pretty bad in a row. And then Ultimate Masters proved they do know what they're doing. So why didn't they bring it back when it's a guaranteed moneymaker and, we need reprints in Modern? Let's just ignore Modern Horizons because that was a joke. All they did was take a bunch of crap from Legacy and bring it into Modern to ruin it. The question you got to ask yourself is, how many cards have been printed lately, we'll say since Kaladesh, that are Modern grade? They have gone into Modern decks. And then compare that to 5 years past. It's a little bit higher, don't you think? And then look at the power level of Standard compared to when Origins first dropped, which was when Standard was actually good. I mean, decks that were considered broken when Theros first came out, are you kidding me? Compared to today's decks, we're basically playing Modern right now. And the reason for that is because they dumped the Modern reprint sets and products in favor of just putting better, improved Modern grade cards in Standard. So they've been slipping hyper powerful cards in Standard because what happens to a Standard set when both Modern players and obviously Commander players and Standard players all need the card? The card shoots up and the value of the box shoots up and they sell more boxes. They realize that a set that's okay to above average for Standard, which is obviously hard to nail repeatedly, is not enough money. That's not enough people. You need to have Standard and all other formats fighting over buying a card to drive it up enough. I mean, there are cards that were exclusively good in just Standard that never went over $4 and they were in tier 1 decks. $4 is the cost of 1 pack and it's in the rare slot. And then you mix that with 25-cent bulk jank for the other 50% of rares and you're not making any money. You got no value here. But when a card hits, $15, $20, that's like a good fraction of the entire box cost. So if you get enough of those, it'll support the whole damn set. And I've actually done the math on some of these sets that were very high, low, hit or miss. If you take out the top 10 rares, the set loses 70% of its EV. Its expected anticipated average value per box. I mean, that's insane. So what would I do if I really wanted to ensure that standard products sell really well, almost regardless of how well they're received by the standard community, despite being a standard product? Well, I'd throw a bunch of crap for modern in there. And that goes double if instead of a reprint, it's a brand new card. Because, if you reprint Birds of Paradise for the 30th time, yeah, you're going to get some value there. People want them. Cool. There's a guaranteed $5 bill, at least. But how many individual copies of that card do you think exist in the world? You're just adding a little bit to it. Whereas in Modern, I mean, you do a Fatal Push. Holy crap. I mean, probably not Commander, but definitely Modern and some Legacy and Vintage players I even heard, because it's fast. Those players want this card. And then it hit, like $13, $14? And do you think those were all standard players playing that? No. Assassin's Trophy? That was never printed before, and that hit 10 plus. Do you think it was because of standard players? No. Not entirely. That card screams, play me in a super fast, aggressive format. That's not typically standard. That's not even typically those colors. So the theory is they got rid of the modern heavy reprint sets because they thought eventually they're going to run out of reprints, and they just started sneaking in overpowered cards that are really, really good for other formats, and then they invented other formats on top of it, like Brawl, to double down on the high-powered cards and the demand for them. So now you need it for standard and for Brawl and for Modern if it's a really good card. And remember, the number of Commander plus Modern players, if you add them together, vastly exceed the number of standard players. So if you cater to that market first, you are guaranteed to make more money. So that's why these cards are getting pushed through R&D. That's why they're getting approved, even though they know, wow, this is almost definitely going to be problematic in standard. But, money. If they made a perfectly fair, fun, balanced, interesting, flawless set in standard, but there was nothing like, whoa, you have to buy this or you'll lose. There was no hook card or hook mechanic that's horribly overpowered that everybody buys. You'd probably be looking at a $90 box EV. And they know this. Making the perfect product that's exactly what people need would not make them as much money as printing a bunch of broken crap. And that's why they're so hesitant to ban it, because the second they ban it, they lose everybody millions of dollars. I mean, think about how many copies of these cards are floating around and now they're worthless. And that's the other thing. You ban a Modern staple in standard and people still play it in Modern. Whoop-de-doo. You ever look at Smuggler Copter's value after it was banned? It wasn't 25 cents. So that's another reason they've got a little insurance policy in case they have to ban something in standard and really kill its value. Well, at least it wasn't even intended for standard in the first place. It's far too powerful for standard, obviously. And you know what's really ironic about that, if it's true? You could print really, really powerful cards as long as it has less potential interactions. Like if they stuck to 6 sets legal max and rotated twice per year, like they initially intended at the exact same time. That decision was made right around the time when they changed all this and started printing horribly broken crap. And I'm not saying that they've never done this in standard before, but, mistakes like Skull Clamp were just careless. That was just a lack of skill and math and experience on their part. I think those were mistakes. I think cards like Assassin's Trophy, Fatal Push, Oko, Chandra, Torbrand, a lot of stuff like that, they know what they were aiming for. I mean, just look at Ashes. Ashes of the Abhorrent. You think that that's a standard card? Really? Players can't cast spells from graveyards or activate abilities of cards in graveyards. Whenever a creature dies, you gain 1 life. Did anybody put that in anything in standard? Tocatli Honor Guard, does that look like a standard card to you? And both of those are in the rare slot, by the way. They tried. Creatures entering the battlefield don't cause abilities to trigger. Nobody played that. That's the stop degenerate ETB shit in things that aren't standard. They tried. They've been aiming for Modern with standard over and over and over. Not to mention, hello, Scape Shift. I mean, that's literally a Modern card. That's not a standard card. So yeah, I think that does explain everything. I mean, well, it does. It's just, I think it's true. But yeah, it obviously explains everything. That's why they constantly keep making the same mistakes over and over and over, because they're not mistakes. They're doing this on purpose by orders of somebody who likes money too much. Well, let me propose a different theory, just in case that is the case. Adding 1 million players to the game in standard per year, that'll make a lot of money too, actually. Losing 1 million per year, though, that is not great for money long term. Even if you start ripping off Commander and Modern players by ruining standard. Eventually, you do actually have to have customers left, just FYI. So yeah, especially with the launch of Arena, they need to pull a 180 on this bullshit and focus on standard first, fair standard, double check, double guess, second guess everything. Stop printing overpowered, broken, unfun shit, mostly unfun shit. Number 1 is unfun. They need to target the fun factor here. And then once they do that, just focus on growing the game. I mean, you got all the Hearthstone people leaving and going to other TCGs. This was their time, and now people are actively saying, yeah, don't come to Magic. It's unplayable right now, and they refuse to do anything about it because our tournament schedule. We can't ruin a tournament for 64 people, so you other 10 million people are just going to have to hold on for now. If I may, screw the pro players, sincerely the entire rest of the community trying to play standard right now. I have 2 weeks to come up with a deck that doesn't run Oko. What am I going to do? Come up with a new deck is what you're going to do. $7,500? I'd stay up all night to design the damn deck. Are you kidding me? Isn't it like a $250,000 top prize? Yeah, bitch, design a new deck. That's your job. Shut the hell up. But no, they're letting them go to Mythic Championship, bitch about how it's just an Oko mirror fest and how nobody should watch it and how boring and terrible it was, and then they're gonna fix it for the rest of the community. Because that makes sense. God, somebody just needs to fire half the staff at Wizards. Seriously, this is so obvious, so careless on their part, the state that they've let Standard get to in the last 4 years. It's unforgivable. There is no excuse. And at this point, heads need to roll. Not just, we're kind of concerned as a community. We'd prefer some changes. No, fire everybody. Replace them with people who give a shit about doing their job and actually care about the quality of the game. How about that? Hashtag fire Mark Rosewater. Let's get that trending. If you don't believe me, look up on the wiki a full list of mechanics that were invented by Mark Rosewater personally. They were his pet projects, and you tell me that he should still work in card design. So anyway, wish I had better news, but it's another negative video, boo-hoo. Feel free to leave a comment bitching about it so I don't have to hear from you ever again, because I've banned over 3,000 people from this channel. So either keep it to yourself and get a fucking clue, or shut the hell up, or I'll shut you up for you. I don't think that's correct phrasing, but you get it. So anyway, rainbows and hugs and glitter to everybody. Hopefully have a happy holidays. I mean, you won't until Oko's banned, but whatever. And I'll see you hater tots next video.